other news now, the Democratic Alliance is persistent in its pursuit to expose the governing party hand or role in state capture. The party is of the view that the ANC used cadre deployment to capture the state, extract public resources and evade accountability. Today is taking a stand to expose how the ANC influenced the appointment of judges and senior public servants. eNCA reporter Lindsay Dendika was following these developments for us in Cape Town, joining us now live from our studio in Cape Town. Good afternoon, Lindsay. The DA says cadre deployment of the ANC played a role in state capture. How exactly?
So, Dan, what they are saying that if it weren't for cadre deployment in the first place, the ANC's policy that was implemented some decades ago already now, that state capture would never have been allowed to thrive in the way that it has, and that it argues that the cadre deployment policy of the ANC is really what gave rise and made it easy for people to capture the state, and indeed for the party to capture the state through the kinds of appointments that were being made that were not necessarily on merit but because of their links to the party. And so today the DA released a short documentary. It's part of its ongoing campaign to have the ANC's cadre deployment policy declared unlawful. We know that they have already lodged a case in the North Gauteng High Court, which will still probably take some time before it's heard, and it's also got a second prong to this attack, which is a private member's bill before Parliament, also to have this policy declared unlawful and for it not to play a role in the appointment of public servants. So this is just a host of a series of prongs to the DA's ongoing campaign to outlaw cadre deployment, and it believes that the final installments of the Zondo state capture report will in fact bolster its case, especially in the High Court, for it to be declared unlawful, because it believes that in this report much of President Cyril Ramaphosa's testimony, which includes what he may or may not have known about certain appointments that were being made, will shore up its case that really cadre deployment gave rise to state capture in the first place.
So I understand you spoke to the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, around the issue, for example, that we're all expecting to be dealing with later today, the release of that final, I don't know if it's final report of the Zondo Commission into state capture. That's not going to happen. What did Mr. Steenhuisen tell you?
So it all just, the timing of it all coincided with the release of this short documentary today, when the announcement was made that, as expected, the Chief Justice would not be handing over those final installments of the report this evening, as was to be expected. Of course, the DA outraged by, firstly, the fact that the Chief Justice discussed the timing of the next release of this report with the President. They say it's highly unethical for him to have done so, particularly because it believes President Cyril Ramaphosa is going to be implicated in one way or another in these final installments of the report. And so it was naturally outraged by this, and by the time the event was drawing to a close, we then heard from the State Capture Commission itself that it was now being postponed until Wednesday, but the DA still insisting that the events leading up to the decision to delay this report is just not above board and unethical, and saying that they're highly disappointed that the Chief Justice went to these lengths to discuss with the President when exactly this report, final installments are to be released, and says it doesn't buy the reasons given by the Commission that it needed more time to sort out publishing this report because of its voluminous nature. So here's DA leader John Steenhuisen speaking to me about this postponement.
President should have been involved in conversations with the Chief Justice on the timing of this at all, particularly given the controversial nature of this fourth volume, which is going to traverse cadre deployment. It's going to traverse the President's own involvement, both as the former Deputy President and now the president of the ANC, I think it would be wrong for a judge to confer with somebody who could well be the accused in a particular matter. And I think the president should have been more mindful to insulate this process, because the impression that's been created in all of this, that the president, who is himself subject of some of the findings, no doubt, or certainly some of the commentary, is now managing and massaging the timing of the release of the report. I don't buy the argument about the voluminous nature of it. We're all going to get this thing electronically. It's a matter of pressing send on a button and it's going to get into people's mailboxes and the like. So it shouldn't matter how high the volumes are stacked or how many there are. We're going to get electronically. I don't buy that argument, and I think it's important that we understand why the president felt it appropriate to be in conversation with the Chief Justice around particularly this Volume 4, and particularly given the fact that the President himself is in a tight spot at the moment with the Pala Dollargate scenario hanging over his head.
Mr. DA leader John Steenhuisen ending that report from my colleague Lindsay Dendlinger from our studios in Cape Town.